This is Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living. Now, let's join Jeff already in the studio.
Hello and welcome. So glad that you joined us today. I'm Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and this is Empowered Living. And today we're going to talk about a topic that I think you're really going to appreciate because it's something that all of us are affected by. It's touched all of our lives in some way or another. And this was a topic that was suggested to me by a woman at a senior community that I was speaking to recently. And she emailed me and said, hey, this is something I think that most people would appreciate. And the topic is learning to love yourself. Learning to love yourself. We want to be able to find value in who and whose we are. And this, I don't know how to approach this subject without coming at it from a partial faith basis. I'm a person of faith, and some of the things we're going to talk about are definitely faith-based because this loving ourselves is definitely includes a function of spirit. And so if you're uncomfortable with those things, I just want to let you know up front that's fine. You might want to skip over this one, but I hope you don't because I think you're going to benefit from it in thinking about these. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to learning to love ourselves is to recognize that we didn't make ourselves, right? You didn't, and I didn't. We didn't choose what we were going to look like. We didn't choose what country we were going to be born in. We didn't choose what family we were going to be born into. We didn't choose what gifts and abilities to give ourselves, what emotional makeup to give ourselves. We didn't choose those things. We were given all of those things from somewhere beyond us, greater than ourselves, right? And so often it's so easy to look at the beauty and the design and the wonder in the world around us. Think about the Grand Canyon. Think about the stars at the night sky. Think about the Aurora Borealis, the giant sequoia trees, the Amazon, all of the wildlife and birds. It's sometimes so much easier to look at those things and be impressed than it is to look in the mirror and be impressed, right? Because we know ourselves so well. There could be various things that cause us not to maybe love ourselves so much or to cause that love to diminish. And one of them is comparisons to other people, and someone said that comparisons are odious. They're just terrible. We don't want to compare things. And if you think about nature, right, the Grand Canyon's the Grand Canyon. Now it looks different, has a different feel than maybe an ice cave in Iceland or a volcano. But you can't compare them and say one's better than the other. They're both what they are. They both have natural beauty. They both got created by something bigger than themselves too. And they both are what they are, and people appreciate them for what they are. You don't go to a volcano in Hawaii and expect it to look like the Grand Canyon, or vice versa. You appreciate them both because they both have beauty. They both are awe-inspiring. So that's the first thing. We want to get rid of the comparison, and to start appreciating our appearance, our gifts, because there's nobody else like us in all the world, and there never will be. And nobody else can do exactly what we can do and the way we can do it and to add value to the people around us. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is seeing value beyond our condition, It's very possible, and most of us listening to this, I know myself many times, have ended up in a place that either I got myself into that I didn't want to be, or just circumstances ended me up in a place that I didn't necessarily want to be. I really wanted to get out of the situation. And sometimes that can linger, and those situations can cause us to doubt our value, to doubt our worth, and to diminish our love for ourselves. But I was walking with my wife the other morning, and I saw, I looked down, just happened to look at the ditch next to where we were walking, the little roadside gutter, and there was a dollar bill lying in it, and it was lying in water. It had rained the night before, and so it was wet, but there was this dollar bill lying there, and I was like, oh, look, honey, there's a dollar bill lying in the ditch. And she said, oh, that's great. Are you going to pick it up? I said, of course I'm going to pick it up. Dollar bill. And here's the thing. If I held up, maybe you wouldn't care about a dollar bill. Maybe you would. But if I were to hold up a $100 bill in front of a group of people and say, okay, who wants this $100 bill? Everybody's hand's going to go up, right? But what if I crumple it up and throw it on the ground and say, now who wants the $100 bill? Well, everybody still wants it, right? Because its value isn't based on its condition. The value didn't diminish even though it's in a less desirable condition. But what if I took that $100 bill and threw it in a mud puddle, stomped up and down on it? Who wants the $100 bill now? Well, sure, everybody still wants it because you can rinse it off and it's still worth $100, right? And that's the same way with us. Our value doesn't diminish because of our condition. And sometimes actually those difficult conditions that we find ourselves in, either through our own poor choices or through something outside of our control, sometimes those are what give us our greatest effectiveness as we learn and grow through those times. One of my mentors, John Maxwell, I was listening to him the other day, and he said that he had interviewed a CEO recently, and the CEO had talked about some of his most difficult times and the mistakes he had made and how much it had cost him and other people. And John asked him, well, if you could go back and not do those things, undo all those experiences, would you do that? And he said, no, I would. He said, because my greatest growth has come through those difficulties, through the mistakes I've made, through the poor decisions, through the difficulty. That's where my greatest growth occurred. Because anytime we get in a situation that's bigger than us, where we need some relief, we need some direction, and we don't have it, we can't see the way, that means we're getting ready to learn something. We're going to come out on the other side bigger than we went into it because we're going to learn something. We're going to seek wisdom. We're going to find resources. We're going to talk to other people who have been through that, who are going to be able to bring something to us that we didn't have before. So it's not so much what's happening to us. That's not the real question. It's what are we becoming as a result? So when we see that these difficulties in our lives, these conditions that we would rather do without, that they're actually developing us into a person, somebody that's more valuable than we were without them, then we can, instead of loving ourselves less because we made a mistake or made a bad decision or got into a tough situation, instead of letting that diminish our love, we can get excited about it. And we say, wow, this is great. I'm going to be better than I was before. There's going to be more about me to love, on the value. So there's going to be even more. So we have to realize that about the difficult. And okay, now the third thing I want to bring to you is we need to recognize our unique gifting. To recognize our unique gifting. Okay, because you've got gifts that I don't have, and I've got gifts that you don't have, and we all have gifts and personalities and these unique ability combinations that make us us, and nobody else has them. And therefore, we can do things. We're equipped to bring to the world things that nobody else can bring, right? Nobody else has your exact same gifting and can use them in the same way about you. So, to find your strengths, to look for your unique strengths. I know so many people who probably don't feel like they have any strengths. For years and years, I had no idea what my strengths were. It took other people helping me realize that to point it out to me. One of the books you can get that really helps is called Strength Finder 2.0. And it's a little online test you can take. Doesn't take too long, maybe about a half hour. And it'll give you a list of your top strengths. And that's very encouraging if you don't know what your strengths are. But we all have those strengths. Another thing we can do is look for what people point out to us that we do particularly well. It's good to know that. It's good to hear that. People are like, wow, you're really good at that. Or, you do that well. You have an inclination for this. You have a gift for this. That's really important because sometimes we just can't see it in ourselves, but other people can. I wrote a thank you card to a friend of mine who created an opportunity in her company for me one time. And I said, hey, thank you for seeing potential in me that I didn't know I had. And she wrote back to me. She said, well, I just saw what was obvious. And I wrote back to her. I said, well, it wasn't obvious to me. And I'm glad it was obvious to you. And I really appreciate you pointing it out and creating an opportunity for me to grow and to use these gifts that I didn't even have. Right. So when we can start looking at each other and pointing those things out to each other, and then we can get good. We can find those qualities and then encourage growth in those qualities that they have and the things that they do well that nobody else is exactly equipped in the way that they are for the difference that they can make. So now the next point is point number 4. This is something that's affected all of us. At some point in our life, we have all received through our experiences and at the hands of other people devaluing or negative message about our worth, about our value. And so when that happens, when somebody is conveying this to us, we need to ask, well, who says so? Who are they to speak to my worth and my value? By what authority do they speak? Who made them somebody who can rightly evaluate and judge me, right? And that's actually the title of my upcoming book that should be out in a couple of months, is Who Says So? Because we need to ask that question. Because as children, we come in and we're just wide open to and receptive to the messages coming from our parents, coming from peers in school, coming from the world around us about our value and our worth. But what qualifies those people to speak to my value and my worth? That's why I say that this is where a faith and a spiritual aspect comes in, because we need something greater and outside of this box. I call it the box of life that we live in, the box comprised of the world around us, the people around us, the family I was born in, where I was born, our culture. We need something greater than that, because a lot of times those messages that come to us from that box, from within the box, they're not true messages. They're not true messages. So we need to be very careful about that, about who we listen to and say, who says so? And very often it's the people who are conveying negative messages to us, or devaluing message, making us feel worth less or maybe worthless. It's the people who are doing that who feel the worst about themselves. Think about the bullies in school. When you find the bully, the hallmark thing that constitutes a bully is that they're always putting other people down. Well, why are they putting other people down? Well, to try to make themselves feel bigger as a result of pushing others lower. Where the person who already knows that they're bigger, knows their own value, they're going to be trying to bring other people up. That's the person who really has a sense of self-worth, is one who goes, wow, I'm loved, I'm cherished, I'm like the psalmist said, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I have gifts, unique gifts that God gave me to develop for my own good and for the good of those around me. And as a result of that, I don't need to push anybody down to feel good. I want to reach out and lift other people up who don't feel so good and help them see the bigger picture. We all need a bigger picture. And that's the fifth thing, is we need to see the bigger picture. And that means that we really do have to get outside of the box. And I like to teach, when it comes to value, that I can tell pretty accurately how much anyone values anything, be it a watch, a purse, shoes, a car, a house, a vacation. I can tell how much anything is worth to anyone by noticing what they're willing to give up for it. And in the same way, I can tell what I'm worth to God by what he's been willing to give up, right, in Christ. He paid a tremendous price, didn't have to do it, didn't have to show up here, didn't have to bring the truth to us and the love to us, didn't have to take the beatings, didn't have to be crucified to forgive us for not understanding and for wounding ourselves and other people and himself in trying to grasp something, to get a sense of self-love, to get a sense of security, to get a sense of belonging. We've all wounded ourselves and others in some ways much bigger than others, some ways smaller than others, but we've all done it in some way. And he said, listen, I'm not looking at your condition. I see your condition. I've got to deal with the condition, but I love you enough to give up everything for you. And that's a tremendous value statement. That trumps every voice, every message from everywhere else inside this box.
Jeff will be back shortly to wrap up today's message. This is Gabriela, still on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. If you've missed any part of today's message, you can hear it again online, as well as the entire archive of Empowered Living at www.talknetworkradio.com or search keyword #Empowered Living. We would like to acknowledge our music partners, Sound Ideas for Corporate to the Max and Kevin MacLeod for Airport Lounge. Any scriptures read during this broadcast are from the New American Standard Version of the Holy Bible. If you would like to learn more about Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, visit www.jeffbyrdcoaching.com. That is JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Do a Facebook search for @CoachingRocks or drop Jeff a line at jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching.com. Again, JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Let Jeff's Coaching Rocks be the building blocks of your empowered success. Now, let's go back to Jeff for the rest of today's message.
And the next one is practicing self-compassion.